Hi guys, welcome. I'm Jen Burson. I'm the founder of Generation PR, an award-winning PR agency here in Los Angeles, where we specialize in promoting baby and kids brands, beauty and cosmetics brands, and other lifestyle brands. If you feel like you don't have enough time in your day to actually grow the agency because time's flying by, you are running client meetings, you're finalizing pitch angles, there's something that's constantly needing your attention, your hair is on fire, putting out fires and constantly brainstorming with clients and your team, and it's like all the things that you're doing, you deserve to get your hours back because you need to prioritize what really matters in your agency. Today, I want to talk to you about ways that you can free up time in your agency, what to focus on, how to choose what you're prioritizing in your life and your business. So let's dive into this. I love topics like this. I love productivity and like optimizing your day for maximum impact. So let's dive in and talk about how we can do this. So we know the days go by really fast as an agency owner. We're usually jumping from task to task, and you're in meetings and you've got a little time in between meetings, and then you're shifting to the next thing. Your focus is kind of all over the place. And then all of a sudden it's 5 o'clock. Maybe that's when you finish and you realize you didn't get to work on any of those big picture projects that are going to help you to grow, to scale, to bring in the right clients, to align your agency content and case studies, your website, your social content with the dream clients and the niche you want to bring in. It'll help you, raise your rates because you're really focused on what you see for your business long term, and you're putting the steps into practice to make it happen. When you just crank away all day, shifting from one fire, one call, one email, one project to the next, and you have all that lost time during context shifting, your day ends and you've not really done anything proactive. So we want you to get your hours back, prioritize your agency, take it to new heights. So 6 powerful ways that you can free up time in your day so you can start working on your business instead of in your business. Okay, so number 1, delegate some more. Honestly, there is no better way to free up your time than just taking stuff off your to-do list. Unless a task is truly unnecessary, everything gets moved off your to-do list. It has to go on to somebody else's to-do list. So that means things that you have on your plate that are not necessarily income generating, they're not revenue generating activities, they're not really your zone of genius. I like to talk about the concept of how much your time is worth, and coming up with an hourly rate. It could either be what you charge per hour. I don't really charge an hourly rate, but I do have a rate in mind when I consider how much time I'm spending on something and what it should be worth to me and whether it makes sense to delegate it. It's hard to delegate for some people because it's that idea of relinquishing control of some responsibilities, and it's scary, especially if you're coming off of a solopreneur lifestyle and you think, well, I could just do it myself, or I could do it cheaper, or I have to pay someone to do that, I'll just do it myself, or I have to train someone and that's going to take time. So that's an easy mindset to shift into, very easy, because you're still thinking like a solopreneur. You are still concerned. It's a scarcity mindset. So if you pay somebody for something, then that's lost income for you. And I get that because I was there too, right when I first started. When I left law, I was making probably about $165,000 a year and then bonus. And I never considered myself successful in PR until I was able to replace that income. Even though I had never worked in PR, I had no contacts, I had no training, nothing. And so for me, it meant holding on to every dollar and cent, because if I had to pay someone, then that meant less money coming in for me. But way back in the day, I got an hour-long meeting with the head of the entrepreneurship program at USC Business School. And the very first and best piece of advice that he gave me was less gen equals more money. So your agency will be much better off in the long run. You're bringing in people that can do work that's kind of not really worth your time. We can have people build our media lists, write pitches. Maybe you judge them for the last, 10% to make it really great, but you're saving time because someone else is doing that for you. And it's really a calculation of what you view your time as being worth. So an example of that is, let's say you're just starting out and you see your time based on what you want to make in the year, how much you want to work. You can come up with an hourly rate. Let's just, for example, say your time is worth $250 an hour, okay? And you are on Canva creating graphics, like putzing around. You're not a graphic designer. Canva's easy and you can make it, but is it going to look as polished and refined and understanding all of the principles of graphic design like a trained graphic designer? Probably not. Will it look decent? Sure. But let's say you spend 2 hours of your time putzing around on Canva to create some graphics for social media. So that's $500 worth of your time. Graphic designers are usually around $75 to $100 an hour, and they're better than you. So you could spend $500 on a graphic designer and get way better graphics and way more volume. Or you could say, well, a graphic designer can do that thing that I needed better than me in probably 1 hour. And now that's $75 to $100 that you can spend. And now you've gotten that time back. And you can use that for strategy, revenue generating activities, really focus on the business. Okay. The thing that you are trying to do to save you money is actually costing you money, because you're spending time teaching yourself a skill or learning some skill that you could just pay somebody less than what you view your hourly rate as. Think about everything you have on your plate right now. And if there is anything that doesn't come naturally to you or that you don't enjoy, you need to delegate that. What about things that one of your team members really enjoys doing? They love it. They're really skilled at it. Do you need to be the one that is doing those things, or can they be completed by somebody else? Think about that. Delegating, free up time in your schedule, focus on your vision. What even is your vision? Okay. Think about the vision that you and your team can build together, and get that time back to work on something that you excel at, that you love to do, and that will help move that vision forward. And that will serve as your North Star when things get hard, when you really need to go back to the thing that's like, why am I doing this? Why am I working so hard? What am I building here, and why am I building it? That's your vision. And when you delegate, you now have time to identify that vision and work towards it. So number one, delegate. Number two, you got to cut back on those meetings. If your clients want to meet with you and talk to you and see you and all that, push back on that, please. We know that you are wasting time every day while you might be stuck in unfocused, unhelpful, pointless meetings. Maybe at least an hour is wasted. I'm not saying cut out meetings altogether, but you can easily get that time back in your day by saying no to the unnecessary meetings and only schedule necessary meetings for refined, concise blocks of time. So if you're the one scheduling them, don't give yourself an hour if you know you can crank out the conversation in half an hour. Here's another thing. You have to have an agenda. We circulate them to the whole team ahead of the meeting so that we can get everybody's like open-ended ideas. So there's no surprises like, oh yeah, I want to talk about blah, blah, blah. And you're like, it's not on the agenda and this is a half-hour discussion. So if you do not have an agenda, you're not going to meet, because otherwise it's like, how's the weather? How was your holiday? Fine, you can talk about all that stuff, but it's a minute. It should not be like half an hour of shooting the breeze before you actually dive into the important stuff, because you gave yourself an hour. So say no to unnecessary meetings, and then schedule those meetings that you do need to have for smaller blocks of time. Start also cutting back on your meetings with your team. And I promise you, trust me, they will love this. They don't want to sit and talk with you all the time. Do you really need weekly check-ins? Or would a bi-weekly check-in work better? Are there any meetings that would be more effective if they were worked out in Slack, or communicated over email so that you have everybody's thoughts, and maybe, also worked out in a Google Doc where everybody's just, if it's a brainstorm, everybody's just like sharing a Google Doc. And then when there's some information on there, you can have a meeting to work through it and kind of refine what that is going to be and put into action. But in the meantime, have things that are not necessary, or not necessary to be an hour or even a half hour. Schedule them for a shorter block of time. Take things off of the calendar right now that are not necessary. If you're meeting with a client every single week, you need to move it to every other week or every month. If you're meeting every other week, push back and say, you can position it like this, steal my language. Our time would be better serving you and your account if we were able to use it to be reaching out to the media. And we will move our meetings to every month and be able to talk about bigger picture strategies, launches on the horizon. But we have found that every other week, now that we're really in this, we're moving and grooving in this kind of, we're just rolling and maintaining, consistently generating press. That bi-weekly isn't necessary. So with your permission, you kind of say it's like already been decided. With your permission, we're going to use that time to work on pitching the media. And what are they going to say? No? Like, no, spend your time wasting it with me. Just put it in the affirmative. Like we are going to be using that time to pitch the media. So just keep a heads up that the calendar invite's going to move from every other week to monthly. They don't want to waste time talking to you either. So in the beginning, clients are a little skittish. They're like, if I don't hear from you, it means you're not doing anything. And obviously when you have results coming in, they know that's not the case. So just push it out if you can. And then what about meetings that start really focused and then they just sort of shift into chatting and catching up? Those need to be condensed and schedule it for a shorter block of time, knowing that you don't have much time to talk. It'll keep everybody really focused. So if you usually meet with a client and it's about 15-ish meetings, schedule that for half an hour. And if you're really going only 15 minutes every single week, cut it down to 20. Because now your mind, it's like you have that mindset of like, oh, I was supposed to be in a meeting. And now what do I do? Because my next thing doesn't start for 40 minutes. So what do I do? But if you know you have that time because you've condensed it, you've made the client aware, like this meeting's going to start and stop in 20 minutes or half an hour. Now your mind is like, okay, I know that I have another half hour before my next thing. So let me work on something, answer a few emails, like something you can really be effective and efficient at in half an hour. And then cut back on your meetings with clients. So, anything more than once or twice a month, like I said, is total overkill. And always send out an agenda before meeting with clients so that everyone stays on track. You finish quickly. You talk about all the things that everyone wants to talk about, and that's going to free up everyone's time. Okay? So cut back on those meetings. Get that time back. That one thing alone could save an hour every day and maybe like 4 to 5 hours a week. Okay, number 3, hire a new team member or a contractor, because you may go to delegate a certain task and realize that the people that are on your team now maybe don't have the perfect skill set or even the time in their day to complete it to your standards. You can start with contractors. There are so many great, talented contractors that want the flexibility and freedom. And it might be a little intimidating at the start, but the time that you get back will open up so many doors for your agency. And maybe you start to use that person for, if it's a consistent thing that needs to be done over and over again, you train them and then they just handle that task. It depends on the task. It depends on what you need, but the goal is always to find someone that you trust. Make sure they have a really clear understanding of what you're looking for and a purpose at your agency. And it might take a bit of time for them to kind of get into the groove, to fully integrate. But I promise you that time, getting them up to speed, getting them trained, getting that task off your plate or off somebody else in your team's plate because their time is better spent elsewhere and maybe they're a more expensive resource, it is worth it for you in the end. Okay, so hire a new team member or a contractor if your existing team doesn't have those skills or they're not also the best person to be doing something because their rate's a little high and it's not a skill, like that level of skill where they need to be the one doing it. Number 4, you want to implement a project management software. So something like Asana or Monday or Hive or Basecamp or even Slack. Tons of businesses are using software to help teams move through tasks quickly and stay on track. And I'm not just talking about a Google spreadsheet or a shared to-do list. Basecamp and other project management software like Asana, Monday, Hive, pick something you will stick to. Something that is not so complicated where you're like, your brain scrambles and you're just not going to look at it. It only works if you work it. This will help cement your team's flow, their processes, their workflow. Everyone will know what is being done and when it's being done and by whom. So no one has to waste their time tracking down missing pieces of a project or constantly checking in with teammates for updates. This project management software will allow you to rest easy knowing that these tasks are being completed on time. You and your team members, they don't have to stress about getting things done by the deadline, waste time wondering if and when you should possibly step in to push things forward. And everyone knows what they need to do each day, so there's less of a chance of someone dropping the ball. Maybe you have to hit pause and pick up all of the pieces of this kind of blown deadline or what the F is going on, and now I have to step in to move this forward, and now your whole day is just blown to pieces, right? So this will allow you all to, set tasks, assign them to people, set deadlines, send you reminders. So that's number 4. So 5, you have to prioritize and block time. So I want you to think about the time of day where you are your best, most strategic, creative, focused, productive, and effective self. Is that first thing in the morning when you wake up, maybe after you've done your gratitude journaling or gone for a walk with the dog or had your coffee or done some meditation, I don't know, whatever time. Maybe it's just after lunch. So you spend your mornings, you can't focus until you clear out your email and make sure everybody hears from you. And then once your head is clear from that and you've had some lunch, you're ready to go. Some people are really focused at the end of the day. I know my kids come home and it's like all hell breaks loose. So I have the first part of the day to be my most strategic, creative, best self. So that is the time that I'm going to block out to work on the most important stuff. Where the most skill, the most strategic thinking needs to go into it. And I'll also prioritize on my like to-do list the things that are like the must get done things of the day. Like someone's waiting on me, there's a deadline, or this is needed for somebody else to be able to move forward on their task and it has to be done today. A proposal I promised to a client. That's the stuff that goes in my like must get done, and that's what I try to do first thing in the morning. And that way, you have the space in the day to work on those things, so you can stop stressing about when you're going to fit it into your day, stop wasting time, really trying to, like fit it into those little gaps in between the meetings, the half hour where you're like, oh, you can't get focused and get into the deep work when you're bouncing around context shifting. So this requires some prioritization where you have to go through everything you have on your plate or get it out of your head. This is one thing I tell my kids. Your head is not a receptacle for to-do lists and tasks and things you have to remember. It is an idea generating machine. And when you are weighed down with the like, gotta remember this, gotta, pick up flea medicine for the cat, gotta go pick up the dry cleaning, I have to go to my kid's basketball game, I just have to remember it's at 3:30, or he needs to bring his jersey to school, and I have to remember to, no, like write it down, set a reminder. Every single time I think of something, it's like automatically out of my head and into a reminder. But what you need to do is go through everything on your plate, which means get it out of your head, get it onto a list, and pick out the 2 to 3 things that are vital to the agency's success. Things that you can easily delegate should not be on this list. You got to write it down and get it off the list. Give it to somebody. Only include tasks that are yours and yours only. This is like really important because you can get bogged down in the muck and the mire if you don't really, everything that's on this list looks exactly the same, right? It's like some of these things are bigger, more important, more needle moving, if that's a thing, like they will move the needle, and they all look the same. So you have to identify the 2 to 3 things that are the most important, the most impactful, that will drive you closer to your purpose, that will help you live more deeply in your purpose and bring your business to the right place where you're serving the right clients and doing work you love that lights you up, you're passionate about, all those things. You can't do that work if you list and look at every single thing with equal sense of urgency and purpose and importance. So you need to identify those things and then prioritize that, block out the time, all referring back to where you feel the most focused, where you feel like you're your best self, where you feel like you can give that work the attention, the intensity, the creativity, the excitement and passion that it really needs, because that's when you're the most alert and energized. So as the projects are completed, then you can swap in new tasks so that you always have something to work on that's really important, that takes this level of focus during that time, these block times. Then what you can do is you can set a private meeting in your calendar every day during that most productive time and block it out. And that's when you complete these high priority tasks, and it's focused, uninterrupted time in blocks. So maybe your block attention is 25 minutes at this point because you're just starting out, and you need to be able to like take a little break, refocus, like give yourself 5 to 10 minutes. Know you have a break coming up. Work your way up. You may call this the Pomodoro method, block time, but 25 minutes to start. If you're like, I can do longer, give yourself 50 minutes, 50 to 55 minutes, and know there's a break coming. And that break should not be checking emails. It should be doing something that will energize you. Fresh air, maybe meditate for 5 minutes. Just breathe, go inward, calm your mind, get a glass of water. I constantly am getting up on the breaks of my block time to get water, get a healthy snack, pet the dog, play with the dog outside, get some sun on my face, breathe fresh air. Okay. So set those private meeting times and complete the high priority tasks. And that uninterrupted time improves your focus and your motivation so that you can put your full brain power behind those projects because they matter the most. Those key projects need your attention. So you say goodbye to time wasting distractions and giving that block time to your inbox. That's not the best use of your time. Emails are typically a convenient sorting system for somebody else's priorities and their imposition on your time. So only go and do those email tasks when you can just crank them out and you're not using that mental horsepower. It's kind of a waste. So you can also just encourage your team to do the same. They could block out time for high priority projects or that pitch writing, sending those emails, other daily tasks like following up. They could even block out time so that they can work as a group to work on a bigger overall client project, like a strategy, or if they're working on an event, reaching out to various sponsors or putting together even a list of sponsors. Encourage your team to do this so that everybody can complete that high quality work and get more time back in their day. And here's number 6. You have to set up boundaries, put those in place immediately. And when I say immediately, I mean now or when you start working with a client right away, even during the courtship phase, so that they see I get my work done, super responsive, super efficient and effective during my working hours. And otherwise, you're not going to hear from me. So like if I decide to work late because that's on me and I have time, I will boomerang that to go out the next morning because I don't want to send an email at 8 o'clock at night and have my clients think, oh, I'm just going to call her at 8 o'clock at night because she's clearly working. Start that right away. You cannot free up time in your agency if you keep letting clients take it from you. That time is yours. And you have to set boundaries with clients so they know exactly when you are and you're not available. Set that time, right? And set those boundaries so that you are, again, still showing clients that you are effective, efficient, getting work done. You're there for them, just not after hours, not nights and weekends. And this can immediately free up several hours per week. I mean, it's also just that mental bandwidth and the stress. If my cell phone vibrates, rings, there's an alert, and it could potentially be a client or it is a client, it sets you up for stress. And that's not the kind of business I want. I don't want to be stressed out about my company all the time because clients have unlimited access to me. So get your nights and your weekends back. No more responding to emails at 8 o'clock at night. You may think it shows that you're very diligent, and you are, but you can show you're responsive and diligent during normal working hours. And free up your time in the mornings. Like I have to either get my kids out the door or take them to school. There is no way I'm at my desk before 9 a.m. So when clients want to meet at 8 a.m., I have to say I'm not available. So you have to really fight for it, and not in an adversarial way, but just declare it, and you are sticking with it, and you're being consistent with the hours you're available, getting the work done, being responsive to clients, and you're consistently protecting that time. So if a client knows that you're only going to respond during certain hours each weekday, they are more likely to wait until you're online to reach out, which we love, right? Just wait, I will get you when I'm available. And also boundaries aren't just for setting available hours though. This is also boundaries for meetings. So like I said, short targeted meetings, extend that to your clients. Like this is what we just crank it out. We want to save you time. We want to use that time to pitch, to generate results. So let's shorten the meeting. Let's do fewer. And when you send out that meeting invite, if it's on you and you're going to schedule and you're going to put the Zoom together, make sure you mention that the ending time is a hard stop. right? So that you send that along with the agenda. It's the same agenda place every single week, so they don't have to go looking for something new. It's the same Zoom call-in information, so you don't have to keep resetting a new meeting. It's just copy, paste, copy, paste. You put it in your Zoom or whatever as a standing meeting. Now you're taking ownership of scheduling that meeting, send along the agenda, set a hard stop, schedule it for as short a window as possible, and make sure that everyone stays focused and purposeful on the call. Okay? So that newfound free time is going to help you execute your bigger vision for your agency, which I love. That's what I'm all about, is taking full advantage of the time. You're optimizing your time and using that to create the life you want. Thank you so much for being here. That's all I have for you guys this week. I will see you guys really soon. Go save yourself some time. Delegate, delegate, delegate. Bye.